I thought I was selecting a humble, unremarkable apartment for a short work trip when I booked a listing in Portland's Alberta Arts District. The description promised a quiet, cozy space with exposed brick, vintage fixtures, and a private feel. I needed a calm environment to prepare for important presentations, so I dismissed any niggling doubts about its anonymity. I arrived in the early afternoon and met the host, Derek Mullins. Mid-30s, clean-cut, friendly enough. He gave a thorough tour, pointing out the retro light fixtures, the small kitchenette, and suggesting local cafes. Everything seemed professional, timely, responses to messages reinforcing my confidence. Still, I noted how his gaze lingered as if memorizing details, but shrugged off my unease. The first night passed without incident. On the second, around midnight, I was jolted awake by deliberate footsteps directly beneath my bedroom. They weren't random creaks or distant neighbors. These were measured steps followed by a heavy scrape, as if furniture was being moved. My pulse quickened, and I pressed my ear to the floor, heart pounding in the silent apartment. I texted Derek immediately. Within minutes, he replied, "Old building, lots of settling noises. The basement is just storage." His quick, detailed answer felt rehearsed. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every subtle noise until dawn. During the morning light, I obsessed over the apartment's layout, mentally tracing walls and floors. Over the next day, small inconsistencies surfaced. The pantry seemed oddly deep. Rearranging cans and boxes, I felt the back wall shift beneath my fingertips. The plaster felt hollow. My curiosity and dread grew. That night, when the footsteps resumed in the familiar pattern, footsteps, dragging sound, then abrupt silence, I knew I had to investigate. Creeping into the kitchen, I moved aside pantry items and found a hairline crack outlining a concealed door. Pushing it, a rush of cool, damp air hit me. A narrow staircase descended into darkness, lit only by the faint glow from above. Fear warred with an irresistible compulsion to see what lay below. Step by step, I descended on a wobbly wooden stair. At the bottom, the space was surprisingly inhabited. A worn mattress on the concrete floor, a folding chair, a small folding table scattered with handwritten journals, and rows of prescription bottles labeled to Derek Mullins. It was someone's secret quarters, hidden directly beneath where I slept. My stomach churned as I rifled through journals. Pages documented observations of guests, arrival dates, routines, sleep habits. New guest checked in today. Sarah M. From Seattle, works in marketing. Names and details recorded with clinical precision. The entries shifted from detached notes to obsessive scrutiny, especially about a guest named Jessica Chen, who stayed 3 months earlier. The final entry froze my blood. Jay figured it out. Had to make the tenant disappear. Buried her with the others behind the shed. I found Jessica's driver's license in a drawer. A kind-eyed woman aged 26, gone without public trace. Realizing I might be next, adrenaline surged. I pushed the journals aside and began to close the hidden door, heart hammering. Then I heard Derek's voice upstairs. "Everything okay?" I saw the light. Calm, concerned tone that felt predatory now. I paused, caught between flight and confrontation. Climbing back, I emerged into the kitchen as he entered, carrying a six-pack as a welcome gift. His eyes pinned me in place, studying my face. I forced a tired smile and said I was fine. He pressed politely, unnervingly insistent. "You look pale. Long day?" I nodded, voice shaky, and he left, closing the door behind him. His casual departure sealed my resolve. I grabbed my suitcase and fled to a nearby hotel, dialing 911 as soon as I reached safety. The police arrived at the apartment and descended into the hidden space. They found Derek attempting to destroy journals. Behind the garden shed, they uncovered Jessica's remains and evidence of other victims. Investigators concluded Derek had used Airbnb to target isolated guests, surveilling them before bookings. He'd planned my stay long in advance. At trial, details emerged of his meticulous methods, studying guest profiles, listening for clues, constructing a hidden basement lair beneath unsuspecting visitors. He was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. I remain haunted by the hidden basement's silence. Even now, I replay every subtle detail. His lingering gaze, the odd pantry depth, the midnight footsteps. Small instincts saved me. I learned that trusting gut feelings and noticing inconsistencies can mean the difference between life and death. I still check locks, scan rooms for hidden spaces, and rise at the slightest creak. The memory of that concealed door and the journals, documenting my life before I knew them, haunts me. Sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones who hand you the keys. I'm Rebecca, and what happened in that Miami Beach penthouse still haunts me. What seemed like a dream rental became my worst nightmare, revealing a shocking truth behind luxury glass and marble. Last October, I needed an extended stay for a full work project in Miami Beach. I found a luxury penthouse at an unbelievably low rate. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Biscayne Bay, marble countertops gleamed in photos, and stylish furnishings promised comfort. The host, Carlos Mendez, described himself as a globe-trotting businessman sharing his lavish space. I should have questioned the bargain. On arrival, the lobby's glossy marble masked emptiness. The elevator carried me to the 15th floor, where I stepped into the penthouse. The view was breathtaking. Carlos greeted me with polished charm, wearing a tailored shirt and watch. He led me on a tour. Automated blinds, high-end kitchen appliances, elegant living area, emphasizing privacy. His eyes held an intensity that made me uneasy, even as I admired the space. The first week passed with surreal calm. The silence felt unnatural. I never heard neighbors, footsteps, or distant traffic. Corridors remained deserted whenever I checked. One evening, I pressed my ear to the door and heard only my breath. Insomnia crept in as I lay awake, unsettled by perfect quiet. By the second week, unease deepened. The elevator paused on empty floors with lights flickering. Through the peephole, shadows moved, but no one appeared when I opened the door. Utility trucks arrived at odd hours via a service entrance. I noted each detail, feeling dread tighten in my chest. I began waking at odd hours, scanning the hallway, imagining sinister possibilities hidden out of sight. Drawing on my consulting experience, I checked public utility data. Electricity usage suggested constant occupancy across units, yet water consumption was minimal. It defied logic. I realized something was wrong, anxiety surging as I questioned every detail of the penthouse. Late one evening, I heard whispers through vents. I followed the sound to a service corridor behind the elevator. Peering through a panel, I saw Carlos and two men pushing covered carts. The forms beneath looked human. I stumbled back, adrenaline spiking as fear and resolve collided. Determined to uncover the truth, I set up recording devices. Laptop webcam toward the entrance, phone camera hidden on a shelf, a small camera tucked behind a plant. I encrypted backups and emailed copies to secure accounts, aware digital traces might betray me. Carlos had security cameras, but he did not know I was watching. Each recording felt like a gamble with my life. Over the next 2 days, I captured footage of unconscious people move through service areas at night, faces blank and lifeless. They were carried silently between floors, as if processed through an assembly line. My stomach churned. This was human trafficking. Fear warred with determination as I gathered evidence, aware I might be discovered. Nightmares replayed the images, but I forced myself to continue. One night, Carlos knocked unexpectedly, carrying wine as a gesture. His casual manner contrasted sharply with my terror. He commented on my pale appearance, asking if I needed anything. I forced a calm reply, hiding panic. When he left, I packed recordings to remote storage and planned my exit. My hands trembled as I powered off devices and slipped them into my bag. Before dawn, I sent an anonymous tip to federal authorities, attaching clips and observations. I left quietly, heart pounding as I locked the door. I feared any delay could cost lives, so I avoided attention as I departed. 2 days later, news broke of an FBI raid. 37 victims were rescued. Missing persons cases linked to that building came into focus. Investigation revealed Carlos's scheme, using shell companies to acquire multiple units, soundproofing them, and exploiting silence to traffic people. Previous guests had vanished without explanation. He targeted travelers unlikely to be missed quickly, I still receive updates from agents confirming my evidence was pivotal. Carlos and accomplices received severe sentences. Relief mingles. With lasting dread, I replay every detail. Silent corridors, odd elevator stops, the too good to be true price. I survived by trusting instincts and noticing inconsistencies I might once have ignored. Now, whenever I see an unusually cheap rental, I pause and recall that penthouse. I think of hidden horrors behind fine decor. The most terrifying truths hide behind ordinary doors masked by opportunity. I remain vigilant, scanning rooms for surveillance, checking floors beneath my feet, listening for sounds that do not belong. The memory keeps me awake, reminding me that awareness and courage can turn a lucky break into a life-saving revelation. Afterward, I sought therapy to cope with nightmares. I volunteer with anti-trafficking organizations and share my experience to raise awareness. Each time I speak or warn friends about too good to be true deals, I recall the penthouse. I hope my story helps others trust instincts daily. When the listing mentioned a transformative communal retreat in the Colorado mountains, I felt both intrigued and skeptical. As a writer craving solitude, I rarely sought community, yet something about its description drew me in during a period of creative block last fall. I had negotiated deadlines and saved expenses to justify an escape from city distractions. Discovering a remote cabin 3 hours from Denver at a modest price felt unexpected. Reviews praised an incredible community atmosphere and life-changing experience. I imagined writing by the fireplace and perhaps meeting kindred spirits. I packed notebooks, snacks, and a small camera, unaware how deceptive first impressions could be. The drive was breathtaking. Winding roads through aspens turning gold, crisp air filling my lungs. When I arrived, the cabin appeared perfect. Rustic wood and stone construction, large windows revealing a sweeping valley, and a warm interior, with a stone fireplace. Yet I noticed odd details. 6 used toothbrushes in the holder, clothes in the closet not mine, flannel shirts, hiking boots of various sizes, and children's jackets. On the mantel were family photographs of strangers smiling in group photos. Later that afternoon, James, the host, arrived with a warm smile. He explained their philosophy of overlapping stays to foster connection. "We welcome guests into a shared family atmosphere," he said, eyes too bright. He pointed to empty chairs around a fire pit and suggested evening conversations with neighbors. Unsettled, I recalled reviews praising bonding but wondered why none of those guests were present, yet their belongings remained. I decided to observe silently and remain polite. That first night, silence enveloped the cabin. No wind rustling leaves, no distant wildlife, only the hum of my own thoughts. Sleep was difficult. I woke repeatedly to check the locks. At dawn, I found fresh coffee and muffins waiting in the kitchen with a handwritten note. "Welcome to our family." I had heard no footsteps. A chill ran through me as I scanned empty rooms, imagining hidden presences. Over the next days, subtle disturbances deepened my unease. Personal items shifted. My notebook moved, my laptop closed when I had left it open. Photographs multiplied. New smiling faces appeared on shelves and tables. On solitary hikes along ridges, I glimpsed figures standing motionless among trees, watching from a distance before disappearing. Attempts to research James online revealed mentions of shell companies and multiple property records, but no verifiable background. Isolation felt dangerous, yet I stayed vigilant. On the 5th morning, seeking extra blankets, I discovered a concealed door behind a bookshelf in the study. It swung open to a windowless chamber. Inside lay suitcases, purses, cell phones, and driver's licenses in disarray. Walls were plastered with photographs and notes. Entries like "Lisa, day 10, adapting well," or "Mark, resisted integration, relocated 10/15, alongside red stamps reading "failed conversion." Beside dates, my hands shook as I photographed every detail, though no signal reached my phone. Fear surged. This was no ordinary retreat, but a trap. Footsteps sounded on the porch shortly after. James called. Time for our evening gathering. Panic gripped me. I closed the hidden door and returned to the main room, forcing calm. He appeared with 6 others. Men, women, even a teenager, each wearing a calm, practiced expression. They spoke softly about a coming crisis, about preserving worthy participants through integration. Their words felt rehearsed. A woman offered herbal tea that smelled unfamiliar. I sipped slowly while planning escape, heart pounding. After they left late that night, I tested my car and discovered tampering under the hood. They had disabled it. Darkness offered cover. I packed essentials and slipped out toward a faint trail I had scouted earlier. Branches scratched my skin. Rough terrain tested my resolve, but fear propelled me forward. Guided by my phone's flashlight, I hiked through the woods until I reached a dirt road at dawn. A passing driver gave me a ride to town, where I reported everything to the police. Authorities raided the cabin 3 days later. 17 arrests followed. Investigators uncovered remains of 12 victims buried around the property. Former guests missing across multiple states. Evidence showed James had lured travelers with promises of community, imprisoning them for forced integration. Those who resisted were killed. Relief washed over me, yet dread remained. In the aftermath, I replay every detail: James's unnerving smile, empty chairs waiting, toothbrushes lined up, and that hidden room. I survived by trusting instincts and noticing inconsistencies I might have dismissed. Now, booking lodging fills me with caution. I scrutinize photos for anomalies, read reviews with skepticism, and share warnings with friends. I volunteer with local safety groups, hoping others avoid similar peril. Sometimes I still wake at night, heart racing as memories resurface. But I also remember that vigilance and courage turned a deceptive refuge into my escape. I remain cautious every single day.